It's 1 a.m. Saturday, May 20th, 2023, and you are watching Co-op for Two. This is an unscheduled live stream, and I've noticed in this world, people become caricatures of themselves, at least when you watch them on TV or shows or movies. So maybe we should try not to get into a rut. It doesn't always have to be done the same way. So what's happened? Why are we live streaming here? Well, last night we played an 8-hour stream and finished chapters 3, 4, and 5 in one setting, finishing the 5 chapters in Escape from the Asylum Part 1. This is a box that comes in 2 parts. And, it's a puzzle game with a narrative, and in the first box, it's got 5 chapters, and each chapter introduces us to a new character. It's a thin narrative, but they're sort of all happening at the same time, different patients in an asylum escaping. And then it seems like the idea is that in part 2, we're going to catch up with those 5 characters, maybe see their backstories a little bit, see how their stories wrap up. But I haven't had the best time with the game, and yesterday I just pushed through the final 3 chapters in part 1, and it took about 8 hours, and I guess where we went sour with the whole game was in chapter 2. We got stuck on a puzzle for about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, and I'm normally loath to look at hints. But when we did finally give up and look at the hints to that puzzle, it was basically broken, or it was a lie. The designers say that you don't need to use the internet, but you did need to use the internet to come up with dates, and it left a very bad taste in our mouth. And then, so I played chapters 3, 4, and 5 in a sort of marathon session, and we went to hints when we got frustrated with the puzzle, and for good reason. Like, I don't think it would have been satisfying to stick with those puzzles without going to the hints. On the other hand, it was clear from that session of 3 chapters that, as Nicola posted a comment on the video, that you really can't marathon these puzzle games. And that's an interesting piece of knowledge to have. That's an important piece of knowledge to have, because I like marathoning these games in general. I like the idea of playing for an 8-hour stretch and testing your stamina. But it's clear that a puzzle game is not well suited for that, because you do get tired and frustrated and you don't want to spend the time sitting there thinking about it. And it really does detract from the experience. So I feel a little bit bad that I may be harsher, my opinion about the game may be a little harsher than it would otherwise be. On the other hand, people who have watched the playthroughs of this game have said they would have just put it aside and stopped playing it, thrown it in the trash, whatever. And I also feel a little bit bad because there's a lot of good stuff in these boxes. And it's clear that some people put some real time, energy, and love into creating these. So I feel a little bit, it's with some remorse, some regret that I have posted a negative review of this game. And I thought, well, okay, if we're going to put it aside and never play it again, we don't have to play through all of part 2, but don't we owe it to the game and ourselves to at least see what the idea of part 2 is? See what it looks like for one of these characters to wrap up their story. And is anything going to change? The rules are the same, but is there anything qualitatively different about the part 2? Are we going to get a narrative wrap up to their story, etc.? So I thought, okay, let's just do it. We have no boss. There's nothing stopping us from playing it with short notice. It's not a video I would recommend people watch and join for. So I thought, why not? So on 10 minutes notice, I've scheduled a playthrough of this chapter. We're only going to play one chapter. We're only going to play chapter 6 now. If we want to play more another day, we can, but we're going to limit ourselves to only playing one chapter today. The first chapter of part 2. So that's what we're going to do. And we don't need to talk about anything else, really. Everything is the same. We've got a deck of replacement cards if we get told to bring them in. There's a second deck here. It looks like it just continues the first deck, so I think we just open this up, put it aside. It really is shocking how good quality this production is in some ways. I mean, it's maybe good quality is not the right word, but you see the puzzle games, the idea of having all of these rooms with their own envelopes with all the puzzle pieces put in it, it's just it's hard to imagine that getting done. Like, who are the humans stuffing those envelopes? It's a lot of little moving parts. Okay. Anything else to discuss before we start? I see that N1 and N2 are here. Nicola and Antina are both here briefly. That's okay. There's 4 concurrent viewers in the stream, so we've got it may just be me for the most of this. That's completely fine. Let's just take our time and see what happens. If you do like this, if you do want to see videos like this, maybe we need to have like a thing, like don't just give it a like for no reason, but if you want these last minute videos completely unscheduled that you have no advance notice about late at night, then you can give this video a thumbs up. If not, don't do it. Let's try that. Don't just don't go giving videos thumbs up for no reason just because you like the person. Okay, here we go. So chapter 6, you find yourself in what must be a laundry room. You're surrounded by big industrial washing machines. You stare at your personnel file before you, yet the name on the papers is not yours. It's your brother's name. Could it be true? You scan the pages looking for information. Okay, now, this is a continuation of our first chapter. Our first chapter, we escaped, we got our personnel file, but it was our brother who wanted us gotten rid of for some reason. Inheritance, was it? I can't remember. All right, now, it says take card 8824 and read the text on it. Then take card 6424. That's weird because it never says read the text on it. So why is it adding extra information? Why is it explicitly telling us to read the text on it? I wonder if that's a clue. So 8824. So this deck looks bigger than the previous one. Okay, let's see if there's any trickery here about read the text on it. Okay, so instead of this being an envelope, we've got this. Medical record, admission date, psychiatric assessment, strongly pronounced delusion of persecution, urgent hospitalization is advised, followed by a memory correction procedure. Emergency medical intervention, consent form signed by Suzanne Anderson. Room 102. Okay, so notice this has got something that allows us to keep it in our records. This might be the first time that we've kept a card in our records. None of the cards from part 1 are used. I believe that's right. I believe that I didn't keep any of the items out. I put everything away from part 1. I believe that's what the rule said. Hopefully it doesn't need me to keep anything out. Now, the other interesting thing is that Suzanne Anderson is one of our other characters, if I'm remembering correctly. She was one of the people that we helped escape in part 1. Okay, we read the text, we're keeping it, and then take card 6424. You thought it was your brother who got you locked up in here. Now you're not so sure. Was it cosmic justice that he ended up in the very place he confined you to, or were you wrong to blame him? And what role does Suzanne play in all of this? This place is messing with your mind. Remember, they've done some memory suppression experiments in this hospital. So is it saying, I guess it's saying that our brother is also admitted? Is that, you open up the personnel file, it's your brother's name. We thought we were in the hospital instead of our brother, but is it now saying you thought it's your brother who got you locked up, but now you're not so sure? Was it cosmic justice that he ended up in the very place he confined you? I guess it's trying to say that the brother is also there because I don't know on what basis we've now concluded he's also here. Take card 6199. It seems like a little bit of a leap of logic there. I don't know how he's now concluded that the brother is also here. I thought the conclusion was we were here instead of the brother. So how has he now decided that the brother is also here? Open envelope, room 104. Saying that you're a little bit shaken up would be the understatement of the century, but you need to concentrate on getting out of here. You approach the door and try to open it. Unfortunately, the door appears to be locked from the outside. There isn't a keypad or even a keyhole, which makes operating the door from the inside virtually impossible. So, in the first chapter, we escaped through a laundry chute. So now we're down on the first floor. So I'm going to get envelope 104, but I'm also going to get the map for the first floor. So here's our map for the first floor. Let's take a look at it. What's different? What have we got here? Kitchen, dining room, office. What does that say? Day room, reception, security room, antechamber, pharmacy, stairwell, office, office, shower room, offices, locker room, elevator, office, wards, shower room, wards, stairwell, laundry room. So mostly offices and a couple wards here and some general rooms. And then what do we have? Guardhouse, garden shed. Then we've got some distance, distance measurements here. Locations of fireplaces. All right. Although mostly we know we can't use any of that information. All right, 102. Where's 102? So here we are. We're in this ward here. Sorry, we're right there in that ward. All right, it says take open envelope 104. So we're inside the room. It lets us open it. Okay, so here is the room. This is 104, but this looks like the laundry room. It seems like if we jumped out the laundry, we should have popped out in the laundry room. Oh, 104, that's where it is. 10, wait a minute. Take room 104. Okay, yeah, okay, sorry, not 102, 104. So we actually did pop out in the laundry room. All right, my mistake. So opening 104. Whoa, look at this. This is interesting. So lots of labeled items. I wonder if we're going to combine 2 items to get out. That's very interesting. Or 3 items. All right, let's see. So we've taken that, and it's told us to take card 4646. You look for another way out. There are no windows in this room. However, there is a ventilation grid right above the door that's large enough to climb through. That is, if you can reach it. From where you're standing, you can see that simply removing the ventilation grid won't do, since there's a wire mesh behind the ventilation grid. All right, so that's our puzzle. We're stuck in this room. We need a 4-digit code to get out, which is going to be some combination of numbers that tells it what tools to use. We could take off the grid with a screwdriver of some sort, but then there's a mesh grid. So you might imagine screwdrivers and then wire cutters or something. Let's see what we've got here if we zoom in. Let's see, are we on the close-up camera? Yes, we are. All right, so 3 looks like a screwdriver to me, and 5 looks like wire clippers. But that would only be 2 digits. So maybe more tools to combine. What does 28 look like? Does that look like scissors to you? 11 is a hammer. Maybe we would need that. I'm not sure why to just take the vent off and cut the wire, we wouldn't need a hammer. So that would just be 3 and 5. What else would we need? Okay, so there's something to stand on, 1. A box we can move to stand on. Nicola points out that the 102 that I was initially confusing is the brother's room. So maybe we're going to want to go to 102 eventually. Okay, so we could stand on the crate. That's still only 3 digits. We stand up, push the crate to stand on it, use the screwdriver to unscrew, and then the wire clippers. And probably we would do these in the order we would do them on, which is quite clever. So right now we have 135. What's the next? What else do we need though? Surely we need 1 other digit's worth of thing. Would we need the rope? It would have to be a single digit if we're right. What have we got? We've got a laundry cart, 7. We've got a bucket, 9. A rag, 85, or a towel. Then we've got, it looks like some towels, 94. Coat rack, coat hanger, 65. What are these other things here? They're awfully hard to see. It looks like we've got some latex gloves that are 2. What is 8? I have no idea what that is. 53 looks like an iron. 67 looks like a brush, like a shoe polish. 41 looks like soap. 80 looks like maybe bleach. 70 detergent. 4 is the rope. 36 is the clock. Would we need rope? If I'm right, it seems like we need to push the thing, climb on it, then screwdriver with 3, then wire clip with 5. That would mean we'd just be looking for a single digit thing. Let's look at that vent again. Screwdriver, and then wire clipper. What else do we need? Do we need the hammer to pound out the other side? Well, that doesn't work because that's a double digit thing. What else would we need? Feels like 135 would be sufficient. Climb up. Maybe, and then we've got some hose, a tool chest. 28 is scissors. Hammer. Maybe, I'll tell you what, maybe this is not tall enough. Yeah, maybe this is not tall enough. Maybe we need to push this and then stand on the pail. This we're not going to be able to stand on. It's going to move, but we could stand on the pail. So what do you think about 1, then 9 on top? Then we climb up and we use 3 and then 5. How do you feel about that? 1, 9, 3, 5. Thoughts? That's pretty clever. I'm not sure I've actually seen that kind of puzzle before. All right, let's try it. 1, 9, 3, 5. I wonder if it's possible that there are multiple solutions to this. All right, 1, 9, 3, 5. Let's see if that's in there. Well, there's 1, 9, 3, 5, so it is in there. It is in the deck. Let's see if that is, in fact, the right answer. You push the wooden crate up to the door and put an empty bucket upside down on top of the crate. You grab a screwdriver and wire cutter and climb on top of the bucket to reach the ventilation grid. You unscrew the ventilation grid and then you use the wire cutter to cut the wire mesh. You awkwardly climb through the small vent and crash down on the hard floor of the corridor. Take card 6610. Okay, well that was quite enjoyable. That's kind of what you would want in a game. Like there's a sense to the order of the digits, and when you come up with the 3-digit solution, you know that's wrong. So that's more like it. That's more like it. All right, let's look at our next puzzle. We're done with this. This can go back. We've gotten out of room 104, the laundry room. Locked from the outside. I guess if you're in an asylum. Okay, here we go. You get up from the floor, gingerly rubbing your back. What do I do? Do I go looking for my brother? But what if it's a trap? And even if it's not, if I get caught, we're both as good as dead. Maybe it's a better idea to try to get out on my own, especially considering how close I am to freedom. When I get out, if I get out, I can look for help and try to rescue my brother. If you want to go looking for your brother, take card 6, 7, 8, 7. If you want to try to escape on your own, 8, 6, 0, 0. Well, that's interesting. Already we've got an interesting choice that's not a clear right or wrong. Probably if you try to help your brother, you got an additional puzzle. The only thing making me hesitate is that our brother, we thought, put us in here. But now that we think he might not be responsible for putting us in here, it seems like some teamwork would be nice. Nicholas says, vote brother, and Antina says, no one left behind. All right, I guess that's a clear statement that we should go rescue the brother. 6, 7, 8, 7. Let's try to rescue our brother. If you want to rescue, looking for your brother, 6, 7, 8, 7. We know what room he's in. He's in 102. Let's see, maybe this is going to have us trying to get at him. You decide to go looking for your brother. You cannot leave him here to rot. After all, he's your own flesh and blood, and family ties run deep. You wander the corridors until you find the room with the right number on it. You try the door and find that it's locked. The old wallpaper near the door to the ward looks strange to you. You're starting to see double and find it hard to concentrate on the swirling pattern, yet you have a gut feeling that it's very important. Replace card 393 in our special deck, which is right here. So without looking, we replace 393 without looking at its face. Okay, so that's a special event or replacement card. We throw this one in the discard without looking at it. Okay. Also 1392. Oh, okay. 2 cards. Okay, we've replaced 2 cards in the deck with special cards. All right. Do not look at the cards you're replacing. Then take envelope for room 102, but don't open it. Okay, well, here is 102. And everyone knows what this is, right? This is not going to be good for a live stream, but this is what we're up against. What is this? Who knows what this is? Who knows what we're looking at here? Nicholas says SURDS, which I don't know what that acronym stands for, but I can tell from that first letter it's right. It's going to be a stereogram. What's SURDS? I don't know that acronym, but it's basically one of these puzzles that was very popular back in the day, where you stare off in the distance to get your eyes to converge, and you basically merge the 2 images into a stereo image. And Nicholas says single image random dots stereogram. That's right, magic eye. But this one is not random dots, it's something else. All right, so can you guys do that if I do this? Can you, if I keep it here long enough, if I just put it here, let me put my green things. If I put this here, can you guys see it? I wonder. Let me see if I can get my face out of the way. All right, let's see. If it's here, can you make that work? Okay, leave it still. Remember that it's probably going to be a 4-digit code. I'm trying to do it in my monitor. I think I can see the numbers are down at that second row without even doing the stereo. You can almost make them work. But my eyes are not willing to focus from looking at the screen. Let's see if you guys can catch it. And Tina says 9858. Is it because you're seeing it or you're sort of inferring it from the shapes? When you guys are done looking, I'm going to pick this up and stare at it. It's harder to do with such a small piece of paper. Nicola, tell me when you're ready for me to pick it up and move on. And Tina says 9858. Nicholas says can't make out the numbers. All right, let me see what I can do here. It's kind of hard since it's not really... It's usually frowned upon putting this kind of puzzle in a game because many people just can't see them, but I guess they can just look at the hints. If you were to give one piece of advice for this game, it would be don't worry, go to the hints. Like, don't worry about it. Like, play it for the experience, and if you get to a puzzle that you really get stuck on, go to the hints rather than stick it out. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going to the hints. I feel like I'm boring it, but it's a little, there's not much light when I'm holding it up here. Not really seeing it, to be honest. I'm wondering if it's like you can see there's multiple components going on. I wonder if it is telling you exactly the digits or if it's saying some phrase that you could use. I remember when these stereograms were such all the rage. It is pretty cool when you get it to work. But I can't quite get it to work. So what we're going to do is we're not going to go crazy trying to make this work on the live stream. I'm going to look to see if Antina's guesses were right, and if not, we'll look up the hint. Unfortunately, the hint's just going to tell us, you know, how to use a stereogram, but we're going to have to look up the solution. So Antina's guesses were 9858 and 9358. Let's see. So 9858 is there. 9358 is not. So 9858 is what Antina thought they saw. It's right here that you see these numbers, right? Like these somewhere here is the numbers, right? All right. Let's try. Let's see if that was it. So it says, if you were trying to enter the ward, take card 1392. Otherwise, take card 013. I don't know why it doesn't say if you were trying to enter room 102, but this is ward. This is ward 102, so this must be the right card. So 1392. And that was our replacement card. All right. Open envelope 102. That's this room. You burst into the room. It's empty, but you can tell someone has been here recently by the rumpled bed sheets. You search the room. When you look under the bed, you notice something glint in the darkness. You reach under the bed and pull out a wedding band with a piece of paper tucked inside. You roll the ring between your fingers and study the engraving on the inside of the ring. It says Michael and Suzanne. You unfold the crumpled piece of paper and read the note. So this is going to be Suzanne Anderson. Okay, 6483. And we open this up. So we've walked our way into our brother's room. He's not there, but the wedding ring is, and it says it's something we can keep and hold on to. Michael and Suzanne. Suzanne. Somehow I'm not surprised she's behind all this. Wait a minute, isn't she working in this clinic as some kind of receptionist or something like that? She did a good job of getting me locked up and then sectioning her own husband. Michael, I will not let you down. I'll escape and I'll reach out to your attorney, and then we're getting you out of here. You put the note in your pocket and leave the room. Here's the note. Don't forget to take the note with you. You might need it later. It's too inconvenient to carry your brother's personal file with you. You must leave it in the room. Put card 8824 in the envelope to room 102. So look at what it's saying. This is very weird. This is pretty cool, though. It's telling us to put this card now. It's too big for us to carry. It's telling us to leave this in his room. That's very interesting. I guess we're going to get it later. How interesting. So that card had a little icon saying keep it. Here's the note. This ring is yours. Please contact my attorney, Alex Hampstead, and it gives his full number that we could try calling. Show him this note and he will give you £500. I'm being held in this place against my will. My wife is to blame. She did it to get her hands on the inheritance I've acquired recently. Now she's in charge of the money. I'm begging you, find my attorney and get me out of here. Don't go looking for me. Just call for help. Michael Anderson. So In chapter 1, we knew we came into an inheritance, and we thought our brother put us in here to get the inheritance. But now we're being told that Michael's, our brother's wife, is to blame. Michael and Suzanne, but are we saying Suzanne is his wife and an employee that we helped escape? Or did we not help Suzanne? Maybe we didn't help Suzanne. I can't remember if Suzanne was one of the people we helped. Take card 4494. Is that what that says there? 4494. All right, so we're keeping the note with us, but we're returning the brother's file to the room. All right, so note stays with us. Tells us to contact the attorney, so this guy says that's what I'm going to do. How do you get out of the building? You only know of one way in and out, the main entrance. You wonder if walking out the front door is such a good idea, but you're going to have to try. You walk along the corridor, and you are just about to turn the corner when you hear someone walking in your direction. You hide behind the corner. Peeking from around the corner, you notice a man in a uniform, a night guard, at the other end of the corridor. Quick, you need to hide. You duck into the nearest doorway and try to open the door. Luckily, the door happens to be open. You slip inside and close the door behind you as quietly as possible. Let's understand what's going on in this map here. So we went to room 102 where our brother was. So we got out of the laundry room, snuck down, came into his room, left his stuff there. Then we came out and we were going for the main entrance. Where do we think that is? Reception? You hear someone walking from behind a corner, the night guard. We quickly duck into the nearest open doorway, and now we're told to get 6085. So we ducked into room 106, which looks like the dining room right above us. There's 106. It is indeed the dining room. It was open, and we ducked right in. Okay. There's only one little thing in here. Let's read what it says. What is this place? Looks like a dining room. Maybe there's a way I can exit through here. You frantically look for another door, any way out of here, until you finally find what you were looking for. It must be the kitchen. There's usually an exit in the kitchen for food deliveries. You inspect the door and notice that it's locked from the inside. The good news is it's not a lock, only a simple latch. Now, if you could find something thin enough to stick through the crack in the doorway to lift the latch, you'd be able to enter the kitchen. You need something long and thin like a butter knife. All right, well, this doesn't look like that's what it's talking about. This looks like something totally different in the dining room. This looks like a drawer of some sort. Okay, but it tells us in the dining room, get card 8904. After looking around, you find a cabinet with a drawer where they must keep cutlery. You try to open the drawer, but it's locked. I see. So it's saying if we could find a butter knife, we could get into the kitchen. We found where they keep the silverware, but it is locked. It looks like it's got a little... What have we got here? 4 symbols to unlock it. And it looks like someone's carved in here. Let's see if we can get this fully in view. Someone has carved in here all of the shapes in some, well, I don't know if it's in order. So what have we got? It looks like pentagon, square, triangle, and hex. And here we have a hex inside a square, inside a triangle, inside a pentagon. So if you were going to do them, if you were assigning digits based on the number of sides and you wanted to do it in order, you might do what? 6, 4, 3, 5. 6, 4, 3, 5. In other words, the innermost one is 6-sided, then 4-sided, then 3-sided, then 5-sided. Of course, you could go the opposite direction. You could go 5-sided, then inside becomes a 3-sided, then a 4-sided, then a 6-sided. Do you have a guess as to the order? Would you naturally go outer to inner? Probably, right? Any objection? 5, 3. Let's try it. Yeah, okay. So let's try 6. Let's go in smaller to larger. 6, 4, 3, 5. So there's 6, 4, 3, 5. Let's see if it's the right answer. Yes. You open the drawer and rummage through its contents until you find a butter knife. Take card 6716 and look at it. Don't forget to take it with you. So it looks like that's going to be a butter knife that we keep in our possession. It does feel like part 2 has a slightly different feel to it. Certainly the puzzles have been easier. Is there something written on this? What does that say there? Stainless 64. Stainless 64. I'm not familiar with stainless 64. Stainless steel does come in a whole different sets of, they're not grades, they're different kinds of stainless steel. And one happens to be magnetic, one is not magnetic. All right, well, this goes into our possession. And let's keep reading. You use the knife to lift the latch and open the door. Take card 8918. Nicholas says, it looks like there are 2 covered digits before the 64. Good steel is 1810. So this has nothing to do with the real steel classification. Very interesting. That makes us think that this is important. 64. All right, let's consider that as we continue. It's not relevant for opening the latch, though. Open the envelope with the kitchen. Indeed, there is a back door, just like you expected. You look out the window and realize that your escape is not going to be easy. There's a tall concrete fence around the clinic's grounds that's too high to scale. There's only one exit through the guardhouse. You can see that the lights are on in the guardhouse and someone is moving about. What do you do? All right, let's find our kitchen envelope. We've made our way into the kitchen. All right, this must be the kitchen. Actually, this has a lock on it. Maybe this isn't the kitchen. No, that's the shed. Okay, where is the kitchen? kitchen. Maybe that's the kitchen. Yes, there's the kitchen. Okay, so we got into the kitchen. So we're allowed to open it. So we threw open the latch and we got into the kitchen. There are stoves, utensils. Let's see what else is in the kitchen. Okay, got a couple things in the kitchen. Guess I can put that back in the dining room. All right, 2 items in the kitchen. One looks like an emergency fire equipment, like a hose and a... It's not an axe, I don't know what it is, with a bunch of numbers around it. And one is a schedule and a lock. All right, let's see. Open the kitchen, then take card 2672. You look around and spy a fire hose cabinet. You look through the glass and see there's a firefighter's pike pole inside. So for poking things, like knocking something out of the way, etc. Clearing space. An idea pops in your head. You could use the pike pole as a grappling hook to climb over the fence. Take card 6135. Okay, so a plan is being formulated to get us out of here. The fire hose cabinet appears to be locked. The door is made from tempered glass, which normally would be very hard to break. But luckily for you, the glass is cracked. Looks like somebody's already tried to open the cabinet, but failed miserably. You heard that you can easily break tempered glass if you hit it in the right spot. Okay. So there's our puzzle. We want to hit it in the right spot. We do have a knife with the number. I don't think we're going to use this in combination, but if you wanted to, you could imagine that you could use the 64 as the knife code. So you could imagine that if you had a 2-digit spot, you could say to hit it with the knife. Seems unlikely though. All right, what have we got here? What's the nature of this puzzle? We've got digits that are all unique except for this 8, which, no, I guess there's 2 zeros. There's 2 8s. There's 2 5s. 2 1s. So one question would be what logically would work, and another question is what does the game want? So if we give it a combination of, if we say that each number is going to crack that line, then what are we aiming for? Are we aiming to complete a triangle? Then 2 digits would break this little sliver, but are we saying that's not enough to get in? And what are we saying about these that aren't straight lines? Like if we crack this 6, do we crack this entire line, this entire line? Let me see what the chat says. And then there's also, says the chat, a left arrow button. Yeah, there's a left arrow. There's a left arrow. I don't know. It's not a button, but it's a left arrow. What? Suggesting that maybe we go this way? What are we trying to do? Is the idea that we have to crack all of the glass? Is the idea that if we say 8, one of the 8s will be triggered or both of the 8s will be triggered? And what are we actually trying to do? I think the arrow gives the order of the digits. Okay, that's a very good guess. In other words, once we figure out what digits, this is telling us we should do them in this order, whatever they are. Okay. And now, on what basis do we pick our 4 digits? Well, let's just think out loud for a minute. Let's say we pick these 4 digits here. 1, 4, 5, 3. What are we thinking happens? Does the 1 crack this line here a little bit? The 4 cracks this line here. And this line here. The 5 would crack this line. The 3 would crack this line. Stop here, I guess. And then nothing would fall out. Is that sort of the gamey part that we're trying to assume? That what we need to do is figure out a way to get like this triangle out. You would imagine this triangle could be this 4. But I wonder if it doesn't break on a straight line. So maybe this 4, this 0, and this 4 would break out this triangle. Is that not enough? Do we have to get access to this? Is that what we're trying to do? So maybe we do this 4, this 5, this 2, and I don't know what gets this. Is that the 1? Let's see what Nicholas says. Nicholas says, I think we're looking for the 4 digits from which you follow a straight crash and end up at the same point. I see. Because we're aiming to hit the glass in a specific place. I see. I think that's pretty clever. All right, let me look at this for a second before I read your answer. So you're saying it's not that we're breaking out a piece, it's that we're finding the one weak spot where 4 digits converge. Okay, so if we try to hit it here, that 4 converges here, the 6 converges there, the 1 converges there, but that would be just 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. All right, what about this one here? The 4 hits it, the 0 hits it, the 1 hits it, and this one doesn't look like it is a straight line from the 6, or is it? What about this line? The 1 hits it, the 5 hits it, the 4 hits it, and the 9 hits it. Okay, well, there's a spot where 4 converge. It looks like that's the spot that Nickel is thinking. The 1 hits it, the 4 hits it, the 9 hits it, and the 5 hits it. And we're saying the 6 doesn't quite hit it, right? Not quite straight. Well, but then could we say that same thing about this 1? Is this 1 not quite hitting it straight? I mean, it looks reasonable to me. 1, 4, 9, 5. Is that really the only such location? Might be. Nicola, but wouldn't this place also work? Wouldn't this location also be 4, 8, 4, 5? I guess that's 4, 8, 4, 5. Wouldn't this also be the convergence of 4 points? Maybe we need it to be 4 points and not have any other cracks leading to it. 1, 4, 9, 5. That would violate this one, because then it's got a line here we're not cracking. So maybe we need to look for a place where 4 lines converge and no other lines converge. I like your idea, though. What about this one right here? No. Yeah. What about this one right here? The 4 hits it. The 0 hits it. The 1 hits it. 0, 4 strikes right through. The 1 hits it. I guess this one we're saying doesn't quite hit it. I like your thinking, but feels like there might be multiple possibilities. Should we be looking for a place where all of the lines through it are hit? What about this? What about this one? 6 hits it, 5 hits it, 9 hits it, 4 hits it. So here's a point where we've got where we can make all 4 lines hit it, right? 5 hits it, 6 hits it, 9 hits it, 4 hits it. The only reason to prefer this one over the first one we found is that this one, all 4 lines converge. Four, 9, 6, 5. Nicholas says 4065 also works. Where's 4065? 4, 0. Do you mean 4065 is here, you're saying? 4065 looks like it kind of works too. Yeah, I don't know if this is maybe not a straight line. It's hard to tell. This is the kind of problem. Nicholas says 4065 might work because it's coming from different directions. I like that theory, like one from each of the 4 directions. So 4, 0, 6, 5. The idea being one from each of the 4 things. Yes, one number from each side. Nicola likes that. All right, let's try that. Let's try 4065. And see if there's an entry for that. We're using the arrows to tell us the order. Okay, well, indeed there is a 4065. So before I flip this over, I just want to see, what was the other one we found that didn't match that? 4. Uh, 096. Was it 096? I'm just wondering if there are multiple solutions here. I'm curious about it. What was our other one? There was one that was close to 4065. 4, 9, 4, 9, 1, 5 was one of our theories that we didn't like in the end because there were multiple lines. Okay, well that's not in there, so sounds like we might have figured out. 4965 was the one we're thinking. Let's just make sure. Let me just make sure that's not in there. All right, well, there is no 4965. It feels quite surprising to me that we've stumbled on 4065. And so I think our intuition is right. It's a little weird that we've just decided that it should be one from each side, but it makes sense. All right, well, it worked. It broke. In one fell swoop, you break the glass by hitting the right spot on the glass door. Well, let me just stop for a minute. That was kind of fun because it was a little bit of teamwork there where Nicola figured out we're hitting the glass in a specific place, then came up with one solution. That is a fun moment where you're like, okay, here's my proposal for why this is a solution. And then when you use that criteria and you find multiple solutions, then you have to ask, okay, how do we decide one is better than the other? There must be some additional criteria we're not thinking of. Then we're thinking it should be 4 lines. Then we're thinking, okay, then and Tina and Nicola decided, okay, one from each side is better. So I wouldn't have minded a better framing of it, but it was an interesting mental process we had to go through. In one fell swoop, you break the glass by hitting the right spot on the glass door. You grab the pike pole. Now it's time to open the door leading outside. To unlock the door, you need a 4-digit code. Unfortunately, you don't have a clue what the code might be. You look around, and the only thing that catches your eye is several calendars on the wall. Must be some sort of schedule. So now we're actually at the next puzzle to get out of the kitchen. This is another puzzle that was in the kitchen. Let's see what we've got here. All right. We need a 4-digit code. So a couple things jump out at me. First of all, these aren't all the months of the year. There's 8 here. 8 out of the 12. The second thing is it's almost look like there are patterns here that are spelling codes. Like we've seen that kind of thing before. Not these so much, but this one. But now why are we missing months? They're all from 2019. We're missing January, we're missing February, June, July, September. February, June, July, September. Those are the 4 months we're missing. So we're missing 4 months. That sounds like our 4 digits, right? So the question is, is there going to be a pattern where February has 1 digit and then June and July has 1x? Like, is this a numeric pattern where we've got 1, 4, 14, 17, and then where we would be able to say that if you had February, only 1 would mark? That's interesting. That's an interesting sequence puzzle. Let's take a look at this closer up. What are we looking at? Is it the idea that we're looking at, So January we have Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. March we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. April, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. May, Tuesday and Friday. August, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tuesday. It's all different days of the week. Doesn't seem to be a huge pattern. Yeah, I mean, if we had to guess, you'd guess that whatever this pattern is, that February is going to have one mark on, yeah. You need 4 digits. So that means probably one digit for each missing month, you'd have to guess, would be a logical guess. That would mean it would always be in the first week of each month. But on what basis would that be? It's clearly not the same pattern on each month. So the question is, how would you know what pattern February follows? Hmm. Interesting. Well, what do you notice about those numbers? On January, we got 2, 4, 14, 17. Not evens, not odds. Not a geometric pattern. Nicholas said, gotta go, but just wanted to stop by to say we should check the hints on the solution for the glass puzzle. Yeah, let's do that. While we're chewing on this, let's look at the solution for the glass puzzle to see how it was explained. So 6135, let's see what it says for the glass puzzle. So the hint says for the glass puzzle, the cracks in the glass will point you in the right direction. Okay. Not very useful. Then it says there's more than one arrow on the fire hose cabinet. There is? There's more than one arrow. Are they saying that the cracks are arrows? More than one arrow. Strange. Well, let's look at the solution and see what it had in mind. The cracks in the glass form an arrow pointing to the place you need to hit to shatter the glass. The lines that meet at this point correspond to the numbers in the cabinet door. The arrow in the bottom left corner of the cabinet will show you the order. So we were right about the order, but it had a completely different rationale for why we would pick the point we picked. Weird. So somehow we were supposed to look at this and see that an arrow was formed. Somehow we were supposed to look at this and form this arrow, which I guess here's the head of the arrow and its tail. Somehow we were supposed to do that to get us to here, even though we got there a completely different way. Well, that's, I mean, it's frustrating for a bunch of reasons, but one reason why it's frustrating is that it makes no logical sense, right? We looked at it and we said, well, maybe if you hit something and it's connected to all four edges, that's a weak spot. And they're saying, no, you should have noticed that there was a hidden arrow in here. You could probably form a million arrows in here, but either way, why would a hidden arrow be in this glass? Okay. Doesn't matter. We solved it. It was a great idea to check that, though, because it does confirm that we're suspicious of this game. All right. Well, we're going to work on this for a bit because this one actually does seem intriguing. But we'll take a little break first. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we're back, and we're playing Escape from the Asylum Part 2, which is Chapter 6, the first chapter, and we're in the kitchen trying to find the combination to the lock. And we're presented with, we need a 4-digit number. We've got 8 calendars here from 2019. 4 are missing. It's very tempting to imagine that the 4 months that are missing each have 1 X on a single digit day of the month. I suppose, though, that we should also consider the idea that you could get 4 digits by finding a digit here, a digit between these two, a digit between these two, and a digit between these two. If we do look at these, do we find that there's only one common square? That would be an interesting idea. 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 8, not here. 11 is not common. 18 is not common. All right, so there's nothing overlapping between these two. What about, here's another theory. What if we marked all of the numbers that are used? Let's just see something here. 31 is used. 30 is used. 30. 29 does not appear to be checked on anything. And 28 also doesn't appear to be checked on anything. So that theory is out the window, that it might just be the ones unchecked. But I wonder if we... yeah, that's That's problematic. I was thinking if we combine all the numbers checked, would it give us something? 2 is checked, the 4 is checked, 3 is checked somewhere, but no 5 is checked anywhere. Oh no, 5, 6, 7 are in marked. 5, 6, 7, 8. Is the 9 checked anywhere? No, so there's no 9 crossed off of anything. 10 is checked somewhere. 11 is checked somewhere. No 12 is checked anywhere. There's too many digits not checked. Okay. Lots of possibilities for how you could get 4 digits from these. What if you overlaid them all on each other? Would you get a pattern? That's a little bit tempting. But it's a lot of work to go through, isn't it? I suppose if I had a little piece of tracing paper. This is another one of my complaints for this thing, is that it feels like you have to do a lot of brute force experimentation to rule in or out theories. I'm just going to take a look at this for a second and see what happens if I mark off the checks all on one spot. Boy, it's a little hard to see through. It's more than a little hard to see through. It's hard enough that makes you not want to do it. In fact, it's too much work. I don't want to do it. So that's the answer. I'm not going to do it. Okay. Let's do it. Let's see. February 2nd. Lily Green has joined in. February as the 2nd month, June the 6th, July the 7th, September the 9th, just the missing months. That's an interesting idea. So Lily Green has joined us. And Lily is suggesting that if we just use the month numbers for our 4 missing months, we have February, which is the 2nd month, June is the 6th, the 7th, the 9th. I love it. It's nice and simple. Straightforward. It's exactly the kind of exactly the kind of ambiguous puzzle that we've been complaining about. Like, that is a very reasonable solution. Let's try it. 2, 6, 7, 9. Now, if it's not in here, there's no reason that shouldn't be the solution. That is a very valid solution that makes use of the 4 months. So let's look. Let's look if 2, 6, 7, 9 is here. Well, 2, 6, 7, 9. I think it's quite likely that Lily has come in here and saved us. But boy, you could imagine how frustrating you'd be if you spent hours trying to figure out, predict numbers. The question is, the problem is that there's no good reason it should be this, other than the fact that this is a nice, clean, elegant answer, which is a good enough reason. All right, well done, Lily. Let's make sure it's correct. Well done. Thank you for saving us. You exit through the door and find yourself outside. It's a chilly night and you shiver from the cold. You walk around the building until you see the gates and the guardhouse. The gates are closed, and the guardhouse is well lit by floodlights and most likely well armed, well manned. You won't be getting out through there. You creep up the tall fence, keeping to the shadows. You try to reach the top of the fence with the pike pole, but it's too short. What do? You can walk along the fence and try to find a lower section of the fence or maybe another gate that can be opened. So here we are. We've gotten into the kitchen and then we've gotten out into the kitchen and then out the kitchen door. And we're here along the fence. And we're trying to find a place to crawl over. We don't want to go to the guardhouse because it's manned. Okay. We're done with the kitchen puzzle. We can put the schedule back in the envelope. Shall we? I guess if we look up the solution to the kitchen, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I guess we don't need to. Okay, let's get this card, 1630. You walk the length of the fence, but it's just as tall in other places. Too tall to climb over, even with the help of the pike pole. You feel disheartened. You cannot believe you've gone so far and you're going to fail when you can almost smell the freedom. But then you notice a small garden shed. They probably keep the gardening tools inside. Maybe there's a ladder inside you can use to scale the fence. Take card 7015. Okay, it looks like we're going into the garden shed. Don't forget we have the ring and the knife, although I'm not clear how to use those. There's a lock on the door that requires a 4-digit code. You don't have a clue what the lock combination might be, so how are you going to open the door? Take the garden shed, but don't open it. Okay. So there's our garden shed. And there's our combination lock. So I see there's a number 1 screw, a number 2 screw. Any other numbers anywhere? Doesn't look like it. Do we need to do a little close-up here? So there's our 1 and 2. Anything you can tell from here? It's got some numbers on the combination, but they just look like they're going in sequence. 890, 7890. I mean, there's some initial setting, but surely that's not relevant. What else have we got here that we can look at, though? I suppose you could count the numbers of things. We've got 4 little windows. Nothing in those windows, right? Not really. Got 4 windows. You've got different numbers of planks. Any theories? Let's look in the chat. We use the knife to unscrew the screws. I think you're right. I think, and Tina, you're right. So, when we looked at the knife, we remarked, hey, if there's a double digit on this knife, 6-4, maybe we can use the knife in combination with something by starting out with that 6-4, and now we've got 6-4-1-2. That seems very likely. 6-4-1-2. Now there are games that use objects like this. This one doesn't tend to be that way, but that seems like what we're going for. But and Tina says 1-2-6-6, not 6-6-1-2. I suppose it depends. Let's try my thing 6-6-1-2 first, and then if that's not there. Okay, so there's no 6-6-1. Is it 6? It's 6. Is it 6-6? 6-4. So there is a 6421, but that doesn't sound like that would be the right answer. You would expect, you think it's 1264? On what basis would we go 1264? Shouldn't we use the knife first? All right, let's look up 1264. And then you can tell me if it's right. Okay, so there's not 1264, but there is 6421. I mean, we're certainly going to try it, but what's the theory for why it should be 6421 instead of 6412? Wouldn't you think you're using the knife, that's your 6-4, and then when you do them in order, screw 1, then screw 2? Let's look at card 6421. The numbers that were missing were the first two. If you read the numbers on the door from left to right, it's 2-1. That's true. If that's the way you always do these, from left to right, 6-4-2-1. Well, seems completely reasonable. It's just a little bit arbitrary. Nope. Well, this is another perfect example of a completely reasonable good answer. That the game does not like us choosing. So it does sound like maybe we do have to find out the combination, but that was a great idea. Why the game doesn't want us to use that solution, I don't know. It almost feels like the game anticipated it and is saying no, but shouldn't it say, like, you try to open it with the knife and it doesn't work? Like, why wasn't that anticipated? You don't have a clue what the lock combination might be. This almost feels like it's telling you to use the knife. It says you don't have a clue what the combination might be, so how are you going to open the door? Doesn't that sound like a clue that you're not actually going to open the combination? It's not saying like you have to figure out the combination. It's almost telling you that... How about 2164? That's what Antina is guessing as well. 2164. Okay, let's try 2164. All right, well, there is a 2164. All right, well, what's your guess? Is this going to be the right answer? I mean, this is a good example of a very novice puzzle designer mistake. I mean, it just is insane that you would have a card for 6421 that doesn't give you any hint that you're on the right path. Although, in fairness, we did relook at this and agree with ourselves that this seems to suggest we should be using the knife. It's just bizarre that there's a wrong answer made for when you try this in the wrong order, and yet it gives you no clue that you're doing the right thing. Both answers should have been right. Okay, here we go. That worked. All right, well, I don't know what to tell you. Certainly is not as frustrating, though, on when it's in hour number 2 versus hour 8. It's a little more palatable, but that's a badly designed solution. You unscrew the screws using the butter knife and remove the latch. All right, hold on. Before I read this, let me talk to the chat for a second. And Tina's justifying it by saying the numbers that were missing in the knife were the first 2 numbers, though. You are saying that the reason you think the 2 and the 1 or the 1 and the 2 come first are because when you look at the knife, you see 2 blanks? You're saying you see these two blanks. You see smudges here that make you think these should be numbers? I guess. I mean, that's one way to look at it. On the other hand, we had one puzzle at the very beginning of this chapter, and it was all about how do you use items in the right order. So first you push the box, then you push the pail, and we did it in that order. So it seems very logical to me that it would be asking you for what order you do them in. And then choosing to do these screws from left to right instead of in numerical order, that's just silly. It obviously makes no difference if you're unscrewing the screws which order you do them in. And if you're designing a game where it costs you nothing extra to put an extra card in here with the order 2-1 or 1-2, why not do that? It's just a bit bizarre. There is a kind of name for that. I mean, you have to have a gradual failure. You can't make puzzles so fragile that a tiny little difference in the solution that should work yields no clue or anything. Anyway, back to the game. You unscrew the screws using the butter knife, being careful to unscrew number 2 screw before number 1, otherwise it would obviously not work. And you remove the latch. The groundskeeper must not be very smart if he fitted the latch like this. The door creaks loudly and you push it open. There's a lot of old junk in the shed. You look for some sort of ladder, but there's nothing that fits the description in the shed. However, you do find a length of rope. If you attach the pike pole to the rope, you just might be able to scale the fence. You assemble a makeshift grappling hook using the pike pole and the length of rope. Take card 6245, and we're supposed to open this. So we're opening the shed. We've opened it up. What have we found in the shed? Some rope, some shovel, some other stuff. We're taking the rope and making a grappling hook. And there's our rope, which just looks like rope. I don't see any numbers on it anywhere, or any clues, or if anything. So let's just put it in our supply. I'll put this one away. Okay, we're in the garden shed. We've taken the rope, 6245. You hurry outside and approach the fence. You swing the pike pole and throw it over the fence. You nimbly scale the fence and pause on top of it. Gathering the rope, you throw it over the other ledge and climb down. You finally made it out alive. You're glad this nightmare is over. Now it's time to go home. You need to sort this mess out. The end. Okay, so we finished chapter 6. The first chapter, he escaped down to the ground floor in the laundry chute. In the second chapter, he found out it wasn't his brother that was planted him here. It was his wife who works here, we think. And she was one of the people we helped rescue out. So when we get to her on chapter 7, do we want to save her or get her killed? Or maybe I'm misremembering who we got out. Okay, so it had us pick up this rope, and then the very next turn it said you use the rope to get out. So I'm not sure what I don't think this has any purpose. I think it's just for fun, and this is just for fun too. All right. Well, we got a good ending. We rescued our guy. The narrative wasn't particularly great. The mixture of puzzles, they weren't terrible. They were a little weird. I've got my complaints, same basic complaints that we've had throughout the entire game. I guess it's useful to play this chapter 6. I would say basically it's the same. The same as the 5 chapters in part 1. There's very little different. It felt the same, felt similar length, similar narrative content. Puzzles were a little different, but basically the same. We got a little interesting puzzle where we had to combine objects in the right order. That was kind of fun. And then we had some puzzles that weren't that satisfying. I don't know. Does anyone else have any thoughts here? It looks like 2 new people have come in, Lily Green and Antonella Hart, that don't normally join us. It's nice to have you here. Maybe you'll join us for one of our actually scheduled sessions. If you read the numbers on the door from left to right. Yeah, if you read from left to right, I guess that's the general rule, although unstated, is often that you go from left to right, top to bottom. But whether you should do those before the knife or after the knife, and Tina has made the case that the knife seemed to have 2 digits missing. Any, for our new people, Lily and Antonella, have you played this game before? Do you play these games, these similar games? Did you join us for the previous sessions? Have you just stumbled on this video? Any thoughts about this game, about the nature of the puzzles? Are you enjoying these more than I am? Any thoughts on this? So I gave this a pretty negative review. I guess the summary of my review was that there's a lot to like here in terms of the format of the game, each puzzle in its own envelope. The envelopes are very nice. It's a lot of work went into this. There's a lot of puzzle for your money if you pay $35 for this. There's some cleverness with swapping out cards. Production quality is high, lots of variety. It's a good value for your money. But on the other hand, I feel like the core of the game, which are the puzzles, are frequently frustrating and feel flawed to me, whether it's because there's multiple ambiguous solutions, whether it's because the context for coming up with a 4-digit number from the puzzle seems arbitrary and unfair, whether it's something like cracking the glass, where it seems like the logic of what you're supposed to do is broken by the game. In this case, it wanted us to find the place not that was structurally weak, but the place that was pointed to by this arrow here, which somehow you're supposed to recreate as opposed to any other arrow. I mean, you could make an arrow any other way. You could say, okay, this is an arrow. This little triangle is pointing to a place here. Or maybe this line here and these 2 lines make an arrow. It's just a very bizarre... What about this arrow? Here's another arrow. Look, this line followed by this triangle. There's an arrow. Why not that arrow? Pointing here. That's the kind of thing that is broken in this game over and over again. Lily says, would love to join for more sessions. Time zone for the UK is a little difficult. I enjoyed this session even though the puzzles were a little obscure. Well, it's nice to have you here. Always nice to have someone new stop by. Always nice to hear a second opinion on a game. I guess I was hoping for part 2 to be a little more different than part 1. And maybe a little more satisfying ending, although I am curious now, was Suzanne the person that we helped escape in chapter 3? I'm curious to open up her room from part 1. I think she was the third person. I'm almost curious to see. Let's see. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was the diamond ring. 2592. I want to see if I can find her room. Actually, I don't have to do that. I can just look at... So one of the things that's quite nice about this game, I always really appreciate these puzzle games that help you reconstruct it to pass along. And this game does have that. It has a sheet that tells you how to put everything back where it came from. And if I look at the components list, I can see the different people's names. I don't know, if you want to play this yourself and you haven't played part 1 and you sort of want to be spoiled, this doesn't tell you how to solve anything. This just tells you what's where. Okay, let's see. So Peter Anderson was our first person. And that's who we continued playing for chapter 6. And then we got Ian Banks. He was the bank robber who got himself into the asylum to get out of being caught. And then we got Jacqueline Miller. And then Robert Moore. 1, 2, 3, 4. So who is our 5th person? So maybe I misremembered. Unless one of them... Where is our 5th person? We don't have a name for them? Peter Anderson, Ian Banks, Jacqueline Miller, Robert Moore. Well, what makes still a 4th person that I'm not sure who it was. That doesn't really help me then. All right, maybe that was Suzanne. Okay, so one of the things we're going to have to decide whether we're done with this game. And I think the smart thing to do would be, I was really curious about playing one of the games from part 2. I can see it's more of the same. I really don't think there's any point in playing the other chapters. So I am inclined, if people want to see this played badly, you can visit the Board Game Geek Guild for this channel. There's a link in the About page where we've got a game queue thread, and we discuss all the games that we could play, and people talk about what games they'd like to see played. But having seen the first chapter in part 2, I think we've seen what this game has to offer. None of my opinions have changed, so I think this is probably it for this game. The Deadbolt Mystery Society games are much closer to my heart in terms of puzzle and narrative. The only caveat I'll make is that this game very much reminds me, there are a couple more card-based puzzle games. There are some very small ones that are sort of like snacks. That's like Deckscape and Detective. And I don't have much interest in those, but there are 2 bigger, longer series. One is the Adventure Games series, which is in a box smaller than this. That's on the wall right there, next to the exit games. So there's some exit games, and there to the left of it are the adventure games. Those have got some narrative, some card-based puzzles, and they tend to be on the long side. In fact, those games make a lot more use of what we saw with the knife. Like you get a card and you combine it, you use it with something else. And then to the left of that is the Escape Tales series. That's the Awakening there, and that's a long form game. That's like a 360-minute estimated time frame game, although when we played that it took us a lot longer. Had some compelling narrative and some multiple endings you could get, and has an interesting spatial map. And I really liked The Awakening, and they have now since made 2 more games in the Escape Tales series, and they're right there. One is called Low Memory, and one is called something Wormwood Forest, or one is like a retro sci-fi and one is sort of horror. And playing this makes me think we should revisit one of those next. It's going to be a little similar to this, but it might be a good point of comparison. But maybe we play a detective game before we dip back into a puzzle like this. That's going to be another multi-part one, so those tend to stress me out a little. Okay, any final thoughts on this from anyone else in the channel? Before we wrap up, we're not going to play any more. It's a very early, short evening, 2-hour stream. That's about as short as I ever do, but we're going to stick with our rule of not playing a marathon 8-hour stream here. I mean, I guess I could be convinced to play another chapter, but probably that's a bad idea. That's how we got into trouble last night with 8 hours. That's when it got really frustrating. No, we shouldn't, because we don't need to play this game anymore. We don't need to play this game anymore. We can reset it and pass it on. Okay, well, if there are no more comments, I will thank you for joining me. Say good night. I do encourage you to stop by the Game Queue thread on the Board Game Geek Guild section for this channel and let me know what games you'd like us to play next. All right, I'll see you guys next time.